Ambassador Kretok walked through the grand halls of the Galactic Council building on Zentari Prime. His forearms swayed as he moved, and his purple skin shimmered under the artificial stars that lit the ceiling. He had done this walk many times before. Today would be another boring meeting where the powerful species decided the fate of the galaxy. The council chamber was huge, big enough to hold representatives from over 200 species. The Vorthons sat in the center, their gray bodies covered in ceremonial armor. Next to them, the Zelathi Commonwealth members floated in their water-filled tubes. The ancient Etherians glowed softly in their corner, their energy forms flickering with age and wisdom. Kretok noticed the humans sitting in the back rows, where the new species always sat. Earth had joined the Galactic Council only 3 years ago. Most species barely remembered they existed. Humans were classified as Level 2, which meant they had basic space travel but nothing impressive. Their ships used simple nuclear engines. They had no energy shields. Their weapons were kinetic projectiles and basic lasers, children's toys compared to what the Vorthons had. Commander Sarah Chen sat with the other human observers. She wore a simple blue uniform that looked plain next to the elaborate robes and biosuits of other species. Her black hair was tied back, and her brown eyes watched everything carefully. She wrote notes on a small tablet as the meeting began. The Vorthon Fleet Admiral Zarnok stood to speak. His voice boomed across the chamber. Today we discuss the trade routes through the Nexus sector. The Vorthon Empire claims exclusive rights to these paths. Several species argued back. The Zelathi wanted access too. The Etherians suggested sharing. It was the same argument they had every year. Nobody asked the humans what they thought. Nobody cared. Chen raised her hand. Earth requests permission to speak about the pirate attacks on our colony ships. Zarnok laughed, a harsh sound like metal scraping. Pirates are a problem for weak species. Build better ships or stay in your own system. 17 of our vessels have been attacked in the last 6 months, Chen said, standing up. The Galactic Council is supposed to protect all members. The Council protects those who matter, the Zelathi representative bubbled through his translator. Earth contributes nothing to our economy. You have no unique technology, no rare resources. Why should we waste ships protecting you? Chen's hands tightened into fists, but she kept her voice calm. We have followed all council rules. We deserve the same protection as anyone else. The Etherian representative, a being of pure light named Cosmos, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. Young species must learn through hardship. Consider these attacks as lessons. In 1,000 years, if your species survives, you will understand. The discussion moved on to other topics. The humans were ignored again. Chen sat down and continued writing notes. She wrote about every insult, every dismissal, every species that laughed at humanity's requests. Far away on Earth, things were very different from what the galaxy believed. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that didn't exist on any map, Dr. Marcus Okonkwo stared at the equations on his screen. He was tall and thin, with dark skin and eyes that held the intensity of someone about to change the world. His team of 30 scientists worked around him, all focused on the same goal. Run the simulation again, Okonkwo said to his assistant, Dr. Lisa Park. Park's fingers flew across her keyboard. On the main screen, a 3D model appeared. It showed space-time as a fabric, with mass creating dips and curves. But their simulation did something different. Instead of just showing how gravity worked, it showed how to control it. The graviton field is stable, Park reported. We can maintain the effect for 47 seconds now. Okonkwo smiled. They had started with microseconds. Now they had almost a minute. The breakthrough had come from studying a crashed pirate ship that Earth's military had kept secret from the Council. The aliens had gravity plating in their ships, artificial gravity that let them walk normally in space, but they used it in the most basic way possible. Humans looked at the technology and asked different questions. The aliens asked, how can we walk in our ships? Humans asked, what else can gravity do? Professor, you need to see this, called out Dr. James Wright from across the room. He was working on the weapons applications. Okonkwo walked over and looked at Wright's screen. The simulation showed a small graviton beam creating a point of infinite density inside a target. The target, a block of the strongest alien alloy they knew about, crumpled into a ball the size of a marble. This ignores shields completely, Wright said, his voice shaking with excitement. Energy shields stop energy and matter. They can't stop gravity itself. It goes through everything. How much power does it need? Okonkwo asked. With our new fusion reactors, we could fire it continuously for hours. Okonkwo looked around the room at his team. They were the best minds on Earth, brought together in secret after humanity realized the truth about their place in the galaxy. The aliens saw humans as weak, primitive, barely worth noticing. They had no idea that humanity had united like never before. Every nation on Earth had contributed to this project. Old enemies worked together. Resources that once went to fighting each other now went to a single goal. The aliens had made a mistake. They had shown humanity that the universe was hostile, that Earth had no friends among the stars, and humans had always been very good at surviving in hostile environments. How long until we can build a full-scale prototype? Okonkwo asked. 6 months, Park answered. Maybe less if the zero-gravity factories increase production. Above them, on the surface, the world continued as normal. People went to work, children went to school, and life went on. But in secret facilities around the world, humanity was building something that would change everything. They were not building just weapons. They were building a new future. In orbit around Earth, hidden by sensor-dampening fields that the aliens didn't know humans had developed, the skeleton of humanity's first true warship was taking shape. Workers in spacesuits welded huge sections together. The ship was 3 kilometers long, all sharp angles in black metal. It looked nothing like the round, smooth ships the aliens used. It looked dangerous. Captain James Rodriguez floated near the construction, watching his future command take shape. He had fought in Earth's small defense force for 20 years. He had seen human ships torn apart by pirates while the Council did nothing. He had attended too many funerals, written too many letters to families who lost loved ones. Never again, he said quietly to himself. The shipyard foreman floated over. Captain, the Graviton weapons platform will be installed next month. The engines are already in place. What about the space folding drive? Rodriguez asked. Dr. Tanaka says it's ready. We just need to install it carefully. One mistake and we could create a black hole where Earth used to be. Rodriguez nodded. The risk was worth it. The drive would let them move in ways the aliens thought impossible. Not faster than light, but by bending space itself, making the distance shorter. The alien sensors wouldn't even understand what they were seeing. Back on Centauri Prime, the council meeting was ending. The important species had divided up the galaxy's resources among themselves again. The smaller species got scraps. Earth got nothing as usual. Chen stood to leave with the other humans. As she passed Kretok, the Vorthon ambassador called out to her. Commander Chen, I hope Earth learns its place soon. The galaxy has an order. Some species rule, others serve, and some... He looked at the humans with his 4 eyes. Some are just food for the stronger. Chen stopped and turned to face him. You're right, Ambassador. The galaxy does have an order. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. But orders can change. She walked away before he could respond. Kretok laughed at her words. Humans were dreamers, he thought. They didn't understand how the galaxy really worked. They had no power, no influence, no technology that mattered. He was wrong, but he wouldn't know that for another 8 months. And by then, it would be too late. The message came at 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Admiral Jiang Wei was pulled from sleep by his emergency communicator. The voice on the other end was broken, full of static and fear. This is New Horizons colony. Under attack. Pirates. They're killing everyone. Please help. Then silence. Jiang sat up in bed, already reaching for his uniform. New Horizons was humanity's pride. Their 3rd colony outside the solar system. 50,000 people lived there. Families, children, scientists working to make humanity's future brighter. Within an hour, Earth's leadership was gathered in the crisis room. President Maria Santos looked at the faces around the table. They all knew what this meant. The colony's defense satellites should have warned them of any approach. The pirates had technology that bypassed human sensors completely. How fast can we get ships there? Santos asked. Our fastest vessel would take 3 weeks, Admiral Jiang answered. By then, he didn't need to finish. They all knew it would be too late. The rescue ships found exactly what they feared. New Horizons was gone. The domed cities were cracked open like eggs. Bodies floated in space, frozen in their final moments. The pirates had taken everything valuable and destroyed the rest. They left graffiti in multiple alien languages, mocking humanity's weakness. But they also left evidence. Commander Chen, part of the investigation team, found a data core that the pirates missed. It contained sensor recordings of the attack. The ships were clearly identified as belonging to the Jakari Syndicate, the largest pirate organization in the galaxy. Chen brought the evidence to the next council meeting. She stood before the assembled representatives and played the recordings. The room watched as pirates laughed while firing on escape pods. Children's screams echoed through the chamber before being cut short. Earth demands justice, Chen said. The Jakari Syndicate must be designated as terrorists. Their bases must be destroyed. Their leaders must face trial. The Vorthan Admiral Zarnok waved one of his forearms dismissively. The Jakari operate in neutral space. The Council has no authority there. They killed 50,000 innocent people. Chen's voice cracked with emotion. Regrettable, the Zalathi representative bubbled. But many species profit from trade with the Jakari. They provide rare minerals and salvage. Attacking them would disrupt the economy. Chen couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're saying their business is more important than justice? Cosmos, the Etherian, glowed softly as it spoke. Young species often mistake revenge for justice. The dead are dead. Nothing can bring them back. Earth must learn to accept loss as part of growth. In time, perhaps centuries, you will understand. We understand perfectly, Chen said quietly. We understand that the Council protects murderers because it's profitable. We understand that human lives mean nothing to you. She turned to leave, then stopped. Earth withdraws from all Council proceedings until further notice. The aliens laughed as the human delegation left. Many species had threatened to leave the Council before. They always came back when they realized they needed the Council's protection and trade agreements. Earth went silent. No communications, no trade requests, no diplomatic messages. The galaxy barely noticed. What could one weak species do anyway? On Earth, President Santos addressed the planet. Every screen, every device showed her face. Her words were simple and clear. The galaxy has shown us we are alone. They will not protect us. They will not help us. They will not give us justice. So we will take it ourselves. I am declaring a state of total unity. All nations, all resources, all minds will work together. We will build our own future. And those who took our people from us will learn what happens when humanity is pushed too far. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Old rivals shook hands. Resources flowed freely between nations that had been enemies for centuries. Every factory changed production. Every scientist joined the project. Every able person contributed something. Dr. Okonkwo's team moved to a massive facility in Antarctica. They now had unlimited resources and thousands of assistants. The graviton technology advanced faster than anyone imagined. They learned to create gravity wells that could pull ships out of hyperspace. They developed shields that bent space itself, making attacks literally miss by warping reality. Engineer Yuki Tanaka, a quiet woman from Japan, made the biggest breakthrough. She had been working on the space folding drive when she realized something. They didn't need to fold space just for travel. They could fold it for defense, for attack, for things the galaxy had never imagined. Look at this, she told Okonkwo, showing him her calculations. We can create pockets of folded space. Store energy there. Store matter. We could fit a moon's worth of weapons in a space the size of a closet. Okonkwo stared at the math. It was elegant and terrifying. The power requirements are manageable with our new reactors, Tanaka finished. We're not thinking like them, Marcus. They've had this technology for thousands of years and use it like a hammer. We're learning to use it like a scalpel. In Earth's orbit, the ship now had a name, UES Nemesis. Captain Rodriguez lived on board, learning every system, every capability. The ship was like nothing ever built. The hull was made of a composite that absorbed energy rather than reflecting it. It would be almost invisible to sensors. The graviton weapons were installed, tested, and exceeded all expectations. But the real surprise was the AI system. Humans had been banned from developing advanced AI by the Council, who feared it after their own AI wars centuries ago. Earth ignored the ban. The AI, named ours, was not just smart. It was creative, unpredictable, and fiercely protective of human life. Captain, Ares said during a test flight, I've analyzed all known alien combat tactics. They are remarkably predictable. They fight in patterns established over millennia. I can counter every standard maneuver with 97% certainty. And the other 3%? Rodriguez asked. I'll improvise. I learned from human military history. Your species excels at chaos. 6 months passed. The galaxy continued without Earth. Trade flowed. The powerful species grew richer. The Jakari Syndicate raided 3 more human vessels, killing everyone aboard. They sent pictures to Earth's silent communication channels, taunting humanity to respond. In secret facilities across Earth, 7 more ships like the Nemesis were under construction. The moon had been hollowed out, turned into a massive shipyard. Mars was strip-mined for resources. Humanity worked with a unity never seen before in their history. Dr. Park made another discovery while studying the crashed pirate ship. The aliens use quantum communication, but it's limited. They can only connect to paired devices. But if we use graviton fields to entangle particles, we can communicate instantly with any point in the galaxy. That's impossible, Wright said. The energy required would be enormous. Not if we use the background gravitational waves of the universe itself, Park explained. We're not creating the energy. We're surfing on what's already there. This changed everything. Earth could coordinate their ships instantly across any distance. They could share information in real time. They could be everywhere at once. The 8th month arrived. The UES Nemesis was ready. 6 sister ships were complete, with more in production. Earth's military had trained on simulators that perfectly replicated alien technology and tactics. They were ready. President Santos stood before Earth's leadership. Tomorrow we return to the galaxy, not as beggars asking for protection, not as weak newcomers hoping for acceptance. We return as what we truly are: survivors, fighters, humans. Admiral Zhang looked at the fleet readiness reports. The Jakari Syndicate has 47 known bases. Their fleet is estimated at 300 ships. The Council won't help us. Several species actively protect them. Then we go through them, Captain Rodriguez said simply. We've been hunted long enough. Time to show them what humans do to those who harm our children. The room was quiet for a moment. They all knew this would change everything. Once the galaxy saw what Earth had built, what humanity was capable of, there would be no going back. Send a message to the Council, President Santos ordered. Tell them Earth will attend the next summit. Tell them we have something to discuss. The message was short, polite, and gave no hint of what was coming. The aliens who received it probably laughed. The primitive humans were crawling back, ready to beg for help again. They had no idea that humanity had spent 8 months becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. They had no idea that Earth's children had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. They had no idea that humanity was coming for justice. The Nemesis powered up its engines for the first time at full capacity. Space itself rippled around it. Captain Rodriguez sat in the command chair, looking at the stars that had watched humanity suffer in silence. REs, set course for Centauri Prime. Course laid in, Captain. Arrival in 14 hours. All hands, Rodriguez announced to his crew. We're about to show the galaxy why you should never corner a human. Why you should never hurt our families. Why you should never underestimate Earth. The Nemesis folded space and disappeared, heading toward a meeting that would reshape the galaxy forever. The sensors at Centauri Prime detected something wrong at exactly noon local time. The gravitational readings made no sense. Space was bending in ways that violated 12 different laws of physics. The Vorthon technicians assumed their equipment was broken. Then the UES Nemesis appeared. The ship didn't exit hyperspace like normal vessels. It didn't use jump gates. Space simply unfolded, and suddenly the massive black ship was there, hanging above the capital world of the Galactic Council like a shadow against the stars. 3 kilometers of sharp angles in dark metal. No visible weapons ports, no engine glow. It looked like someone had carved a piece of night into the shape of a blade. The energy readings were impossible. The ship was generating more power than a small star, but the sensors couldn't identify the source. Inside the council chambers, alarms screamed. Representatives from 200 species looked up at the main screen as the human ship appeared. Many had never seen a human vessel before. This looked nothing like the simple round ships Earth had shown them 3 years ago. Admiral Zarnak of the Vorthons stood immediately, his 4 arms reaching for his communication device. Launch all defense fleets. The humans have stolen technology. They must be stopped. But before his orders could be sent, every screen in the chamber switched to show a human face. Admiral Zhang Wei looked calm, almost peaceful. Members of the Galactic Council, Zhang said. Earth requests permission to address the Assembly regarding the terrorist organization known as the Jakari Syndicate. How are you overriding our systems? The Zelathi representative demanded, his tentacles whipping in agitation. We're not, Zhang replied. We're simply talking to them. Your systems are listening. Now will you hear our request or should we leave? Cosmos, the ancient Etherian, floated forward. Its light form pulsed with curiosity. You may speak, Admiral. But know that one ship, no matter how advanced you think it is, cannot threaten the combined might of the Council. We're not here to threaten, Zhang said. We're here for justice. The Jakari Syndicate killed 50,000 human colonists. They've killed hundreds more since. We want them handed over for trial. Laughter echoed through the chamber. The idea of humans putting aliens on trial was absurd to them. The Jakari are useful, a reptilian representative hissed. They manage the black market. They keep order in the outer systems through fear. The Council has used them for centuries. Then the Council is complicit in mass murder, Zhang said simply. The laughter stopped. Watch your words, human, Zarnak growled. Your species exists at our pleasure. One ship changes nothing. 3 Jakari vessels suddenly appeared on the screen, racing toward the jump gate to escape. They had been hiding in the planet's shadow, protected by corrupt officials. Now they ran. Ares, Captain Rodriguez said from the Nemesis bridge. Demonstrate. The AI's response was instant. 3 beams of twisted space launched from the Nemesis. They were invisible to the naked eye, but the sensors showed gravity itself being weaponized. The beams hit the pirate ships simultaneously. What happened next made every being in the Council chamber step back in horror. The 3 ships, each over 500 meters long, began to compress. Not explode, not break apart. They crumpled like paper in an invisible fist. Metal screamed and twisted. In 4 seconds, 3 massive vessels had been compressed into spheres no bigger than escape pods. The gravitational fields then dissipated, and the compressed metal drifted in space, perfectly spherical tombs for their crews. The Council chamber was silent. Not quiet, silent. 200 species, many who had lived for centuries, had never seen anything like this. Those ships had shields, someone whispered. Shields stop energy and matter. Dr. Okonkwo's voice came through the communication system. He was on Earth, but somehow part of the conversation. Gravity is neither. It's the curvature of space-time itself. Your shields are meaningless. Zarnok's fleet, 200 of the Vorthan Empire's finest warships, surrounded the Nemesis. Their weapons powered up enough firepower to crack a moon. Stand down, human vessel, Zarnok commanded. You're outnumbered 200 to 1. Are we? Zhang asked. 6 more gravity anomalies appeared around Centauri Prime. 6 more human ships unfolded from space, each identical to the Nemesis, each generating the same impossible power readings. 7 ships against 200. Zarnok laughed, though it sounded forced. Still impossible odds. You're assuming we fight like you, Rodriguez said, taking over the communication. Ares, show them what human warfare looks like. The Nemesis moved. Not forward or back, but sideways through dimensions the alien sensors couldn't properly track. It appeared behind 3 Vorthan cruisers, then folded space around itself. The Vorthans fired. Their own weapons curved through twisted space and hit their own ships. The human vessels weren't just fighting. They were making the aliens fight themselves. Every attack was redirected, every missile turned back, every energy beam bent through impossible angles. Cease fire, Zarnok screamed as his own fleet devastated itself. Stop shooting! The human ships hadn't fired a single shot except at the pirates. The Vorthon fleet had damaged 17 of their own vessels in 40 seconds of confusion. This is impossible, the Zelathi representative's translator gurgled. The energy requirements for such manipulation would need a power source the size of a station. You're thinking in 3 dimensions. Tanaka's voice joined the communication from Earth. We fold space to store energy. Each ship carries the equivalent of a star's output in a space smaller than your quarters. We learned this studying your own technology. You just never asked the right questions. Commander Chen entered the Council chambers in person. She had been on Centauri Prime the whole time, waiting. She walked to the center of the room, looking at the assembled aliens who had dismissed humanity for so long. The Jakari Syndicate has 6 hours to surrender all personnel involved in attacks on human vessels, she announced. Their bases will transfer to Earth control. Their leaders will stand trial. Any species protecting them will be considered hostile. You can't make demands of the Council. A dozen voices shouted at once. Chen smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "We're not making demands of the Council. We're informing you of what will happen. The Council chose to do nothing, so we'll do it ourselves." Cosmos floated closer to Chen, its ancient form shimmering. "How did your species develop this technology so quickly? Our records show you only achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago." "You gave us the key," Chen said. "Every species that attacked us, every pirate raid you ignored, every ship you let die, they all had gravity plating. Basic, simple artificial gravity that you've used the same way for 10,000 years. But humans don't look at technology and ask, what does it do? We ask, what else could it do?" She pulled up a hologram showing the graviton equations. "You use gravity like a light switch, on or off. We learned to use it like a musical instrument. Infinite variations, infinite possibilities." "This knowledge is dangerous," Cosmos said, its light flickering with concern. "Our oldest records speak of a race that tried to weaponize gravity. They destroyed themselves and 3 star systems with them." "Then they weren't careful enough," Chen replied. "Humans are very good at controlled destruction. We've been practicing on ourselves for thousands of years." A new alert sounded. 40 Jakari ships were massing near their main base, preparing to fight. They had gathered their entire fleet. "Admiral Zhang," Rodriguez called from the Nemesis. "The Jakari are mobilizing. Permission to engage?" "Granted. Show them what Earth thinks of child killers." The 7 human ships folded space and vanished. Seconds later, they appeared at the Jakari base, surrounding the pirate fleet. The pirates fired everything they had. Missiles, plasma beams, kinetic rounds, even nuclear weapons. The human ships didn't dodge. They created gravitational lenses around themselves, bending space so severely that the attacks went around them like water around rocks. Then the Nemesis responded. Not with the compression beams, but with something new. Micro-singularities, tiny black holes that existed for fractions of seconds, appeared inside the pirate ships. They consumed small sections of hull, weapons, engines, surgical strikes that disabled without destroying. In 3 minutes, 40 pirate vessels drifted helplessly in space, their crews alive but unable to fight or flee. "We could have killed them all," Zhang announced to the watching council. "We chose not to. We're not monsters. We're humans. We protect those who can't protect themselves. We bring justice to those who've been denied it. And we remember those who stood by and did nothing when our children called for help." The Jakari syndicate surrendered within the hour. Their leaders were transported to Earth ships. Their bases were occupied by human forces who found evidence of hundreds of attacks on dozens of species, all ignored by the council because it was profitable. The council chambers remained quiet as Chen stood before them one more time. "Earth is taking responsibility for protecting shipping lanes in sectors 7 through 15, she announced. "Any species, regardless of level, can request our protection. We'll do what the council wouldn't. We'll make space safe for everyone, not just the powerful." "You don't have the right," Zarnak said, but his voice lacked its usual force. Captain Rodriguez stood in the war room of the Nemesis, studying the holographic display of the Jakari flagship. The vessel was massive, 4 kilometers of stolen technology from a dozen species, protected by shields that could withstand a nuclear blast. Inside, the pirate leadership waited, probably planning their escape. Air's analysis of their defenses. 17 shield generators, Captain. Rotating frequencies to prevent adaptation. Hull composed of Vorthan battle steel 3 meters thick. They have hostages from 6 species in the lower decks. Rodriguez nodded. This was why humanity was different. The aliens would bombard the ship, killing everyone to get the leaders. Humans had learned to be more precise. "Prepare the graviton suits. We're going in personally." Lieutenant Maria Vasquez, leader of the strike team, looked up from checking her equipment. "Captain, that ship has 800 pirates aboard, and we have 12 Marines with technology they can't understand," Rodriguez replied. "Besides, I want to look these killers in the eye." The graviton suits were humanity's newest creation. Personal armor that manipulated gravity on a small scale. The wearer could walk through walls by temporarily shifting matter to another dimension. They could crush enemies with localized gravity fields. They could even survive in the vacuum of space by creating a personal atmosphere bubble. The 12 human Marines stood in the Nemesis transport bay. Each wore black armor that seemed to bend light around it. Their faces were hidden behind helmets that showed no features, just smooth darkness. "Remember," Rodriguez said to his team, "we're not just soldiers today. We're judges. We're the voice of 50,000 dead colonists, We're the nightmare these pirates earned. The team nodded. No words needed. They had all lost someone to the pirates. Friends, family. Fellow humans who died screaming in the void. Ares. Initiate phase insertion. The 12 humans vanished from the Nemesis and appeared inside the Jakari flagship, not through teleportation but by folding space so that 2 distant points temporarily occupied the same location. They materialized in 12 different sections of the ship simultaneously. The first pirate to see Lieutenant Vasquez didn't even have time to scream. She moved through the wall behind him, her graviton field disrupting his nervous system just enough to knock him unconscious. She marked his location for pickup and moved on. In the engine room, Sergeant Chen walked through a hail of plasma fire. The shots hit the gravitational distortion around him and curved away, hitting the ceiling and floor. He raised his hand and 5 pirates suddenly weighed 20 times normal. They collapsed, unable to move, their bodies pressed to the deck. Engine room secure, Chen reported. Pirates contained, not killed. This was happening all over the ship. The humans weren't massacring the pirates. They were demonstrating something far more terrifying, absolute control. They could kill everyone aboard in seconds, but chose not to. That choice, that restraint, was more frightening than any weapon. Captain Rodriguez reached the bridge. The doors were locked, reinforced, designed to withstand assault for hours. He placed his hand on the metal and shifted its molecular structure to another dimension. The door became transparent to him. He walked through it like it was air. The bridge crew of 40 pirates all turned to stare at the human who had just walked through solid metal. Their leader, a massive creature with 6 arms named Jakari Rex, stood from his command throne. Impossible, Rex growled. No species has this technology. Wrong, Rodriguez said, his voice calm through the helmet speakers. No species asked the right questions until now. You're under arrest for crimes against humanity. Rex laughed and pulled out a detonator. I have nuclear charges throughout the ship. 1 button and we all die. Ares, Rodriguez said calmly. Neutralize. Every nuclear device on the ship suddenly experienced a localized time dilation. To them, time stopped. The detonator in Rex's hand clicked uselessly. How? Rex whispered. Gravity affects time, Rodriguez explained, walking forward. Einstein figured that out centuries ago. We just learned how to apply it. Rex pulled a plasma pistol and fired point blank at Rodriguez. The shot curved around him and hit Rex's own shoulder. The pirate leader screamed and fell. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, Rodriguez said, now standing over the wounded pirate. Newton taught us that. You should have studied human physics. In 17 minutes, the entire Jakari flagship was under human control. 800 pirates were captured without a single death. The hostages were freed, many of them from species that had written them off as dead. The footage was broadcast across the galaxy. Every newsfeed, every communication channel showed humans walking through walls, surviving direct hits, controlling the fundamental forces of reality with technology in a suit. The message was clear. If humans could do this, what else were they capable of? Back on Centauri Prime, the Council was in emergency session. The Vorthon Empire had withdrawn their fleet, afraid to provoke humanity further. The Zelathi Commonwealth was reconsidering every trade agreement. Smaller species were pledging support to Earth, seeking protection. But Cosmos, the ancient Etherian, was studying something else. Deep in the archives that hadn't been accessed in millennia, it had found disturbing records. We need to speak with the humans immediately, Cosmos announced to the Council. They're playing with forces that destroyed the predecessors. The predecessors are myth, Zarnok said, though his voice lacked conviction. No, Cosmos replied, projecting ancient star charts. They were real, and they discovered graviton manipulation. They used it for 1,000 years, growing more powerful, more confident. Then they tried to create a stable wormhole to another galaxy. The projection showed a star system, then it showed nothing. Where 12 planets had been, only twisted space remained. They tore a hole in reality itself, Cosmos continued. The cascade destroyed 17 systems before it stopped. We sealed this knowledge away, forbid any research into graviton weapons, and now humans have independently discovered it. Commander Chen received the emergency communication from Cosmos while still on Centauri Prime. She listened to the warning, studied the data, then smiled. You're concerned we'll make the same mistake, she said. Yes, this technology is too dangerous. It must be contained. Contained like you contained the pirates? Like you contained injustice? Chen shook her head. No, but I'll ease your fears. Connect me to Earth. The connection established instantly. Another impossible feat. Earth was thousands of light years away, but the communication had no delay. Dr. Okonkwo appeared on screen, with President Santos beside him. The Etherians are worried we'll destroy the galaxy, Chen said. Okonkwo actually laughed. Show them file Prometheus 7. Chen pulled up the file on her tablet and projected it. The council members watched as Earth's scientists demonstrated something that made their fears even worse. It showed a test from 3 months ago. Humanity had tried to create a wormhole. They had succeeded. But more than that, when the wormhole began to destabilize like the predecessors had, threatening cascade failure, the humans had collapsed it safely. We studied your archived warnings about the predecessors, Okonkwo explained, hidden in your oldest databases thinking no young species would look. But we did. We learned from their mistakes. We included quantum stabilizers, redundant fail-safes, and most importantly, we tested everything in pocket dimensions first. Pocket dimensions? Cosmo sounded stunned. Small universes we create for experiments. If something goes wrong, we collapse the pocket. No harm to our reality. The council was silent. Humans hadn't just matched ancient technology. They had surpassed it. They had solved problems that destroyed civilizations. President Santos spoke next. We're not conquerors. We're not destroyers. We're survivors. We learn, we adapt, we overcome. You forced us to become this when you abandoned us. Now we offer you a choice. She stood, addressing the entire council. Work with us. Help us make the galaxy safe for everyone. Share knowledge, share resources, share justice. Or stay in your old ways and watch as we uplift every species you've kept down. Can't simply change thousands of years of structure. The Zalathi representative protested. We changed ourselves. In 8 months, Santos replied. Humanity united completely for the first time in our history. If we can do that, anything is possible. Reports came in from across the galaxy. Human ships had appeared at every major pirate base simultaneously. Not 7 ships, but 20. Earth had hidden their true fleet size. Each base was given the same choice. Surrender or be compressed into stellar matter. Most surrendered. 3 tried to fight. They became examples that echoed across every criminal network in the galaxy. The age of piracy was ending in a single day, but the real shock came from Earth itself. Humanity announced they were establishing academies on their colonies. Any species could send students to learn. Not just technology, but the human way of thinking. The way of asking what if, instead of accepting what is. This will cause chaos, Zarnok said to his advisors. If every species can defend themselves, if everyone has equal technology, our empire means nothing. His advisor, younger and wiser, replied, then perhaps we should learn to mean something besides force. On Earth, Dr. Park was working on the next project. 3 months after the trial of the Jakari Syndicate, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Trade flowed freely through routes that had been dangerous for centuries. Small colonies that had hidden in fear now thrived under Earth's protection. The Galactic Council still met, but everyone knew real power had shifted. Ambassador Kretok walked through the same grand halls of Zentari Prime, but everything felt different. The Vorthan Empire he represented was no longer feared. They were just another species now, equal to others they had once dominated. He carried a datapad with a proposal his empire desperately needed approved. They wanted to trade with Earth for graviton technology. The mighty Vorthans, who had laughed at humanity's weakness, were now coming as supplicants to the species they had mocked. Kretok entered the Earth Embassy, a new building that had been constructed in a month, using human matter reorganization technology. The walls seemed to shimmer, as if they existed in multiple dimensions at once. He was greeted by Commander Chen, the same human he had dismissed years ago. Ambassador, Chen said politely. How can Earth help the Vorthan Empire? The words were kind, but Kretok heard the irony in them. He remembered telling Chen that humans needed to learn their place. Now he stood before her asking for help. We wish to propose a trade agreement, Kretok said, trying to maintain his dignity. Our mineral resources for your graviton technology. Chen looked at the proposal. I'll forward this to Earth. But you should know we're already getting these minerals from 3 other sources who offered better terms. What else can you provide? Kreetak's forearms trembled slightly. The Vorthons had nothing unique anymore. Their military might meant nothing against human ships. Their technology was outdated. Their resources were common. Perhaps, Chen said gently, you could offer something different. Teachers for our academies, cultural exchange, art, music, things that can't be measured in resources. You want our culture? Kreetak was shocked. But you're more advanced than us now. Technology isn't everything, Chen replied. Your species has existed for 30,000 years. You must have learned something worth sharing besides how to build weapons. This was humanity's approach to everything now. They didn't conquer or humiliate. They lifted everyone up, finding value where none had been seen before. It was more devastating to the old order than any weapon could be. Meanwhile, in deep space, Captain Rodriguez led a fleet of 50 human ships toward the galactic edge. They were following up on reports of unknown signals from unexplored space. What they found changed everything again. A massive structure floated in the void. It was clearly artificial, 20 kilometers across, but made of no material in their databases. It was ancient, older than any known civilization, and it was sending out a signal in graviton pulses, a language only species with gravity manipulation could understand. Ari's translation? Working, Captain. The mathematical structure is complex, but... Got it. It says graviton manipulation detected. Awaiting response. Rodriguez felt a chill. Send a response. Ask who they are. The answer came immediately, faster than light, directly into their systems. Not through technology, but through gravity waves themselves speaking to their ship's cores. We are the predecessors. We did not die. We transcended. You have passed the first test. The bridge was silent. The predecessors, the race that supposedly destroyed themselves, were alive. And they had been watching. More information flowed through graviton waves directly into the human ship's computers, and from there to Earth instantly. The predecessors hadn't destroyed themselves. They had evolved beyond physical form, becoming beings of pure gravitational force. They had been waiting for another species to discover the same technology, to prove they were ready for the next step. But there was a test. The predecessors had left challenges throughout the galaxy. Most species that discovered graviton manipulation used it for war and were destroyed by their own greed. Humanity had used it for protection and justice. You are different, the predecessor signal continued. You discovered the power to destroy and chose to protect. You found the ability to dominate and chose to elevate. You passed the second test without knowing it existed. What's the third test? Rodriguez asked. The answer came as coordinates, thousands of them scattered across the galaxy. Each was a predecessor vault, containing technology and knowledge beyond imagination. But they would only open for species that met certain conditions. Not technological conditions, but moral ones. The vaults would only open for species that protected others without reward, that shared knowledge freely, that chose justice over revenge, that united instead of divided. Humanity had already met every condition without knowing there was a test. President Santos called an emergency meeting of all Earth's allies, now numbering over 200 species. She shared the predecessor message with everyone, hiding nothing. We could keep this secret, she said. Open the vaults ourselves, become gods of the galaxy. That's what the old powers would do. But that's not who we are. We're going to share the coordinates with everyone. Every species gets the chance to prove themselves. That's insane, Zarnok protested. He was attending as an observer, his empire having finally joined Earth's alliance. What if hostile species reach the vaults? They won't open, Santos replied. The vaults judge intent, not just actions. You can't fake being good just to get power. The predecessors were too smart for that. The first vault was opened on a small moon near Earth's fourth colony. Representatives from 50 species watched as Commander Chen approached the structure. It scanned her, not with technology, but with gravity itself, reading the very fabric of her being. The vault recognized her as someone who had stood for justice when it cost everything, who had protected the weak when she was weak herself, who had chosen forgiveness over vengeance when she had every right to hate. The massive doors, which had been sealed for 1,000,000 years, opened. Inside was not weapons or ships, but something far more valuable. Knowledge, how to terraform dead worlds in days, how to cure diseases that plagued entire species, how to extend life without losing meaning, how to travel between galaxies as easily as between stars. But there was more. The predecessors had left a message, recorded in graviton waves that played directly in the minds of everyone present. We failed because we were alone. We had no equals, no challenges, no reason to grow. We became stagnant, then desperate, then foolish. We evolved beyond physical form not by choice, but to survive our mistakes. Do not repeat our path. Diversity is strength. Conflict creates growth. Differences build wisdom. You have learned this. Now teach it to others. Over the following weeks, vaults opened across the galaxy. The Zalathi, who had learned to share their water purification technology freely, opened 3. The Etherians, who had begun teaching their energy manipulation to younger species, opened 5. Even the Vorthons, who had started protecting trade routes without payment, managed to open 1. But not everyone could. The remnants of pirate organizations tried to force vaults open and were repelled. Corrupt politicians who spoke of justice while planning exploitation found doors that wouldn't budge. The vaults were incorruptible judges. Dr. Okonkwo led the team studying predecessor science. What they found revolutionized everything again. The predecessors had discovered how to merge organic and gravitational existence. Beings could choose to become living gravity, immortal and powerful but still individual and conscious. It's not transcendence, Okonkwo explained to the gathered scientists. It's transformation. You remain you, just in a different form. Some species chose to transform immediately. Others waited, wanting to experience physical life longer. Humanity characteristically chose both. Some humans transformed, becoming beings of living gravity who could reshape reality. Others remained physical, enjoying the chaos and beauty of mortal existence. Captain Rodriguez was one who chose to remain human. I like being flesh and blood, he told his crew. The pain tells me I'm alive. The limitations make me creative. Maybe one day I'll transform, but not yet. The galaxy had become something unprecedented. A community of equals where the smallest species had access to the same knowledge as the largest empires, where protection was free and justice was universal, where diversity was celebrated instead of suppressed. The Jakari prisoners were offered the chance at redemption. Most took it, working to repair the damage they had caused. Their leader Rex spent years helping victims of piracy rebuild their lives. When he finally opened a predecessor vault through genuine redemption, he wept for the first time in his life. 1 year after first contact with the predecessors, Earth launched its new flagship, the UES Terra's Promise. It was 10 kilometers of impossible architecture, built using predecessor knowledge but with human innovation. It could create stable wormholes to anywhere in the universe. Its gravity drives could move planets. Its medical bays could resurrect the recently dead. But its most powerful feature was its mission. Not conquest or exploration for resources, but a simple directive. Find those who need help and help them. The ship's launch was attended by representatives of every known species. Former enemies stood together. The Vorthons and Zalathi, who had warred for centuries, now jointly operated schools for graviton physics.